And welcome back to the show. I'm Amyre Makupson. In this final segment, we explore the health consequences of continued exposure to environmental toxins throughout our lives, beginning in the very womb. I'd like to welcome Cindy Clement here. She's a nutritionist, speaker, and adjunct professor of functional medicine to tell us about her findings and her book. You got so much going on. I'm just going to say go. But to start with, you know, nowadays you kind of hear where obesity is like linked to almost everything. Mm-hmm. And when I mentioned that before, you said that's exactly it. What are we talking about?
All right. Yesterday in the USA Today, they published a paper that had been written by a Michigan State University PhD candidate. And in her research, she found that obesity is now surpassing smoking cigarettes.
That's almost hard to believe.
Isn't that crazy? It's now surpassing that as the major risk of preventable cancer. Now, in my research, when I was writing this book, I found about a group of chemicals called obesinogenic chemicals, of these environmental chemicals.
Obesinogenic.
That means they increase our susceptibility to weight gain across our lifespan. So these chemicals like BPA and phthalates and PCBs, this whole group of chemicals, this is well known. The United Nations World Health Organization has a list of these chemicals. Our own National Institutes of Health and National Toxicology Program in 2013.
Where do these chemicals come from?
They come from plastics. They come from pesticides. They come from electric transformers. They come from the lining of the
basic
packages.
Stuff that's destroying the environment.
That's right. So when we consume these, or mostly consume these chemicals or are exposed to them through our skin, they end up in our tissue and they're persistent and they bioaccumulate. Now, according to the National Toxicology Program, these chemicals are absolutely associated with obesity. So now I link the article yesterday with the American Cancer Society saying, we don't know what the underlying risk for all of this obesity is. I can tell you one of them is the environmental exposure. Absolutely, without a doubt. And it's not being talked about. And it's not in these articles.
Why do we know?
That I'd love to know myself, but they're not publishing this in the media. The media is unaware of the extent of exposure that we go through.
So just living and breathing and walking around.
It really is, and eating and our personal care products and things like that. Now, the hope in all of this is that manufacturers are getting the message that we aren't going to stand for this anymore. In fact, New Jersey has initiated some new laws. In fact, today, just Maine has banned styrofoam containers in May.
But you know, they've been talking about that forever.
Yes,
styrofoam is no good. It never disintegrates.
That's right.
But we keep using it.
Exactly. And this is why it's a grassroots effort. It's the people who are saying, no, we're not going to buy plastic. We're not going to buy, and they're literally boycotting these companies and these products that are wrapped or packaged in these things. So it's going to be slow. It might not even happen in my lifetime where they are completely banned, but there are steps being taken.
Well, I was going to say, do you ever think we'll get the message and make significant change? Because
I sure hope so.
The crime is we know it, we see it, we can do something about it, but we don't.
People are not aware. And every article I look at about disease, here's the thing. Exposure to environmental chemicals is never addressed in initiatives to combat disease. Never. It's never mentioned. And it's a huge factor in disease. You can't have these foreign chemicals stored in your tissue and not have it affect that target organ.
Before we run out of time, the name of your book, just overall.
The name of the book is Your Body's Environmental Chemical Burden. And it's the burden that these chemicals have on our body, the health effects that they have, as well as being stored in our tissue, and how that leads to all of these increases in diseases and health
But
problems.
there are some personal things that we could do to help ourselves.
Oh, there are. To be very aware and to use the tools and resources. There are many available today that help us to avoid these contaminants and chemicals in our personal care products, in our deodorants, our soaps, our shampoos.
How do we find out what are good products as opposed to those who are not?
There's one that's very simple. It's the Environmental Working Group, a nonprofit group, largest in the United States, EWG.org. So EWG.org, Environmental Working Group, has an amazing database of personal care products, cleaning products, sunscreens, all of this, where you can go and you can check your personal care products. You can check your cleaning products for how safe they are. So that website and many others are being created and offering this information to people to make better choices, and then again to boycott these companies that are still using chemicals of concern.
That's information we all need. Thank you so much. I wish we had more time.
I wish we did. Thank you.
Please visit CindyClement.com to contact Cindy directly. Now that's a wrap for today. We got to go. We'll see you next Saturday at 8:30 for another episode of Street Beat. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.